Hi, I'm Gabe Ortiz,
And I'm Patricia Ortiz,
and we have been part of the PCC community now for a little bit over 10 years.
and welcome to a conversation on giving. When Gabe and I came together, I just remember not having a really strong understanding of why we do what we do. Wondering, okay, where does the money actually go? If we do so into this church, do I believe with all the principles that they're pouring in, or the principles that they have, and also the mission that they have, and then also the ministries that they have. I think you always wonder where your dollar goes, and I think it's important that, especially when you're committed to a local church, one of those commitments is to sow into that church and to trust in the Lord, because this church is not like Mark's church. This is not my church. This is not whoever who is a part of the community. That's not their church. It's God's church. And so we are to give from a heart posture of giving to the Lord, because it was his from the start. And I think that didn't really come to life until Gabe and I really got married. I had a lot of anxiety when it came to talking about finances when we came together. And I think it's important, especially when you're making big decisions around just giving and any goals that you set to align spiritually. For our budget meetings, we try to prioritize prayer and keeping that as the forefront of this money, and this and all that we have really is God's. And we want to make sure that as we plan and as we prepare and as we establish our steps, that the Lord is the one that's really guiding us in the direction of where we need to go, especially when it comes to our finances.
We set up monthly meetings, and then off of that, we try to make sure that we're able to give what we can with each season that comes and goes. There's this 10%, and they get stuck with that number, and they think, oh, I can't possibly give 10% because there's just no room. But the great thing is that you can start wherever you can start. If that's $25, if that's $50, whatever it is, just give, and God's going to bless that. It's a loving structure that God puts us in, and we get to be a part of something that God will use to benefit us more than just the discipline that we have to have now, because we can't just spend all the money that comes in, but we have to allocate our resources with wisdom and praying over how we spend our resources.
My faith has increased the more that I've increased my giving. So I will say that the more obedience and the more steps that I take to trust in God, the more faith is produced in me. And I think that I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in the ways that in my communities, I've seen it in my marriage, I've seen it in my family, that faith will rise with the obedience and the acts and steps that you take towards offering your best to the Lord.